to hope everybody attending will achieve some work-life balance. That means you look at the amount of time you give to your work and your family and your social life, and you'll discover nothing is missing. Because the whole idea about work-life balance is not so that everything is 50-50 or something. No, but there is nothing that you require as a person that you are not involved in. You certainly are a member of a family. You certainly are needed there. You also have friends. You still must invest time, and you still have to earn a living, and you still must invest time. And we hope that we can discuss this. So, but then the other problem is the conflict between the various parts of your life. How do you manage them? And hope that we can discuss some solutions to these issues of balancing. We'll also refer to stress management, and especially as it relates to your work, but also other issues. And hope that we can recommend some time management. We are also hoping to emphasize to you that really all of us need help. You certainly must develop some spiritual support. A lot of times when stress goes beyond measure, it's because you don't have the kind of social support that you require. So do you have some people who pray with you, who read God's word with you, who can help you spiritually? You will discover that they will help you in terms of managing your stress. Do you have family members? You know, the good thing with the family is that you can never come out of your family. You belong there, not by application, but just because you are born by the same father and the same mother. Do you develop relationships such that you can open up to somebody in the family because you know they understand you and they are willing to share your issues and they can give you some advice which you believe and trust? Are you investing any time with your family members? If your parents are alive, you know they care about you. Do you invest any time with them? But sometimes the issues are really, the problem is in where you are employed and you belong to organizations that are insensitive to work-life balance and to stress management. Are you challenging your organizational leadership to create an atmosphere that allows people to balance out their lives and to manage their stress? But then you also need who are the people I'm calling friends and professional networks. Do you belong to professional networks like now Kimbilio, where you can share with one another? If I read something that's helpful, I can share with you. You read something, you can share with me. That's what I'm calling social and professional networks. It may be people who are architects like you, and they're involved in the architectural space. And the challenges you are having there, they're also getting it. How can you share with them? Have you developed them? But maybe even other social support, other sources of support which you can go to. The critical thing is that it is not the support to come to you. It is you to go to the support. So you need to identify you need it before you need it. Because when everything is healthy, nice, you wonder, why would you need any support? So if you did not develop it at the right time, when the crisis comes, you will find it very difficult to open up to them. Where do you begin? So the whole idea behind this meeting is work-life balance that allows you some time to invest in this social support. So we hope that we can help all of you who are attending this meeting to live productive and fuller lives as we define this work-life balance. Possibly also help those who are workaholics. Who are workaholics? People who feel like there is something wrong with them if they rest. People feel like spending time with their children is a waste of time. It can't bring any money. There are people with a kind of an inner design that forces them to work. Whether at work, even if when they come home, you will find them. And they feel very proud to tell you, by the way, I slept 3 hours last night. They are not admitting that they are killing themselves, they feel proud that they don't rest. These are the workaholics. And it's only time that will tell you that you actually went the wrong way. We are also hoping that you can identify some mates that lead to lack of balance. Because of believing those mates, you therefore can't adjust your clock. And hopefully in the process, we will be recommending ways to help bring you and me into balance. I begin with a very unfortunate story, which you all read. Just to mention that these issues we are discussing can affect your mental health, and it can be quite a problem. I wish it was a story we are telling. These that's copied from the Standard newspaper. The PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC employee who fell 17 floors to his death. We are told by the news people that he had suffered 3 work-related burnouts in the last 2 years, including one where he fell asleep in the middle of a presentation. Remember, these are consultants. They do something, then they come and present it to the client. And he actually fell asleep in the middle. But that warning does not seem to have helped. Because the Standard says that Stephen Mumbo worked so hard that on the day he died, he had left the office at 1:30 a.m. and was back at his desk 6:30 a.m. Assuming he took an hour home, it meant that he must have slept something around 3, and he was out of his house by around 5:30. Those are 2 hours of sleep. The article goes on. Now, with the police having concluded that he committed suicide, the difficult part is determining why a man with a high-flying career decided to jump to kill himself. They plied him with so much work, he wasn't the type to decline, and he was not the type to decline, so he did it anyway. Mid last year, an employee who talked to us said that Mumbo fell asleep in the middle of a presentation with a client. If you work in a factory, you are provided with safety gear. I know I work for oil industry, and safety gear is a must. So if you work in a high stressful environment, like Mumbo did, the company should find a way to ease burnout and help its employees in case of work-related stress. That's really what we are discussing today. And because I told you we are all involved in this, I want us, if you are willing, it's not compulsory, to comment on what you are seeing on the screen. Can you help us, anybody, differentiate burnout and depression?
Thanks, John. I'll volunteer, and I'll also call upon Chet to volunteer and any other person. But as I said, we will volunteer as guinea pigs because we don't like calling out. But if there's a volunteer, it'd be great. So what am I seeing on the screen? The question is differentiate stress, burnout, and depression. And for me, I'm just going to make reference to the learnings or lessons that were imparted on us in one of the sessions that we had with Dr. Kangede, actually Kimbilio. It must have been around April or May this year. And the primary discussion of that meeting was on depression. And the first discussion that she took us through was the causes or the risks that we can expose ourselves to that then lead to depression. That being stress. And what we learned about stress is that it is compared to an alarm brain alarm system that is overwhelming, or rather that is so increased, and it feels like the emotions are overwhelmed, and there's an overload and a shutdown in the brain. So the brain is unable to process this stressful situation, because then nothing makes sense. It just keeps ringing. And the state of alarm goes on, and the brain won't go off. That's what extreme stress was defined as, or the way I understood it, where you're unable to control, you're overwhelmed, you don't know what to do, you're helpless, and the alarm just won't go off. And for burnout, it's resultant from extreme stress on physical, emotional, and mental balance. And it can be caused by stress. And when the two are unattended to, the result is depression. So one flows into another. Chet, do you want to give it a shot as well? And any other volunteer, please? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Chet here. I think in my understanding, burnout is complete energy depletion and exhaustion, while depression would be being in a persistent depressive mood that causes you to lose interest in everything. And I think stress would be emotional or physical tension due to overworking. Although I know those are textbook explanations, but that's what my take of the three would be.
No, it has added value. Thank you. Anybody else?
In the session that we had with a good doctor, there was an interesting introduction to the forum that day, that stress is not necessarily bad. There is good stress, or what is called normal stress, and then there is now the stress that is what I have tried to define earlier, the one that then causes overwhelming emotions, and it is detrimental to one's mental wellness.
So stress itself is not a problem, it is inability to manage it. Is that what I hear, Chet, and you saying?
Well, there is positive stress and there is negative stress. There is stress that will make you push your boundaries, but I think there's an extreme part of that now will lead to emotional and physical disruption.
Thank you very much. Now, all of us are likely to be able to deal with number two. Might anyone be willing to share an experience of any of the above? Not necessarily their personal experience, but have you ever had a workmate or relative who you even became the caregiver, but if not, at least you read about it. We are helping each other. So it doesn't remain at the textbook dictionary definition. Any story anybody can give? We will not ask you to name names. It's just a story.
I can share a story of burnout.
Yes.
I mean, a story. So I've worked in very few places. So in the place that I've worked most of my life, a colleague actually had burnout without realizing it, in spite of the fact that I had picked it out. And I'd picked it out because I know the pattern of work in that environment. And I had actually encouraged him, and at one point I put my foot down and told him he must take leave. And he promised he would, and said he would do so the following week. But the following day, post our discussion that he needed to go on leave, he actually just got ill. And when he went to the hospital, your guess is as good as mine, I was right. And he actually had to go on sick off, but it was leave that he hadn't taken. It was just burnout. So his vitamin levels were low. His body was just giving in to the pressure of work, and he took leave, actually, and the sick leave, and he came back all fresh out.
Wow.
Real story. True story, by the way. True story.
Yeah, we pray nobody attending this meeting will ever reach that level. Because I don't know who are the doctors among us, but I guess that although finally you recover, you have destroyed something, part of your body. Because you are now getting medicine to recover. If only you had prevented, the Englishman was right. Prevention is better than cure. Anybody else with another story? That's a very clear story about burnout. And it's in line with what Chetty told us. The burnout is completely giving up of your body and its functions so that you can't do what you normally do. Chet, do you have an example?
Well,
don't feel pushed. Don't feel pushed. It's only that I know you, and it's only now that I know your name.
Here in Wajiko, we are the facilitators, and we are the people who will always answer everything.
Yeah.
Again, I'm currently with somebody who I'm mentoring who has come from such a position. They got a very good job with one of these audit firms. And just like the previous story that you have read out, it has led to serious stress and psychological issues that was leading them into seeing no value in life. And suicide was coming to be the best option out of it. And rather than resign or leave the place, I mean, we would have had another jump from the same facility that you're talking about. So I can tell you that, yes, it's true that it's something that is ongoing in the workspaces. People get pushed too much. And it's something that I'm hoping we'll be able to resolve without them losing their life.
So basically, you are discussing something ongoing.
I'm discussing something ongoing that has both stress, burnout, and depression all bottled up into one explosive cake.
Wow.
That's loaded in a time.
Yeah, that's a... Can somebody guess what makes somebody, once they realize they are getting stress and it's leading to burnout, they are at the level of depression, not take an action like, I'm resigning? Anybody with us? Okay, go ahead.
I was like, if this is leading to this, then why are you not leaving? And it was like it was every time I want to resign, I get a salary increase, I'm promised I will be a partner, promise this is the best thing in my life, and if I leave, this is the premier institution in accounting, I'll get nowhere. So it's they are put in a position where they have to choose their job over their life.
In other words, you are made to look like a fool if you resign. Whoever resigned from this organization, what's wrong with you? So basically you feel, I don't want to be a fool, so you continue.
Exactly.
Mongai, what do you think causes people not to change or go for something else? Alfred?
Yes.
You are allowed to think, and there's nothing wrong, so whatever you think, we'll accept.
I think mostly people, as just Chet had said, people are in the fear of losing their source of income, and also at times you always think you are going to overcome it, but sometimes the problem is usually bigger than what you think, so it ends up overcoming you before you get the solution, or even sometimes by assuming you have the best solution by yourself and you can resolve it, but the problem overcomes even before you resolve it.
Wow. Anybody else with a comment? That's a very good comment, Alfred. Anybody else with a comment? Because if you know it, then you should be able to, if you know what's causing it, then you can manage the cause. Okay. Can we attempt to list some solutions to the above? Because we now are clear about what the diagnosis is. How can we resolve these issues? And unfortunately, Chet is in the middle of one.
I can attempt to answer that, John, and it looks very simple, but I think it's also very complex. So I think one is on the side where you are able to identify that a friend, a family member, a colleague is in trouble just from the obvious or the telltale signs. Let me not call them obvious. And then, of course, perhaps have a conversation and attach that person or encourage that person to seek the help that is required from the qualified professional, whether it's a counselor, whether it's a psychotherapist, etc. Or, yeah, absolutely. And the other one is, I think to have, and I know Amira always says this, the empathy, not to be too judgmental or to be too quick to put blame on someone's particularly change of behavior. For example, if someone is drinking too much, they may be drinking because they are trying to numb some pain, they're trying to balance their stress, they're trying to cope with whatever it is that is causing the distress. If someone is sleeping too much or is daydreaming at work, is lying and not delivering on deadlines. If someone, as the case you have provided, has to leave work so late, I mean, isn't there some code of operations in terms of the HR that requires you must leave work at a given time? If you leave very late, then you must come work not earlier than a particular time. So there's the putting up of the structures, there's observation, but I think for me what has struck me also is what you said earlier in the introduction, that then the person can also seek help, but they need to be able to plug into relationships that have been established within the family, within the colleagues, so that then they can reach out for help when the need arises. It sounds easy, but it's not always easy, and that's why we are having this conversation. Thanks.
Yeah, I normally call it right of interference. That my wife does not need my permission to tell me I'm overdoing something. You need that, develop relationships with the people who have right of interference. They don't need your permission. Because they're the ones who will make you think, hey, I don't like what they said, but might it be true? Anybody else with a comment about if you find somebody in this kind of situation, how can you help them? What did you tell them?
One of the things I've always said is, and this is what I told him, is listen to your body, listen to your mind. It's never wrong. If you feel that your body is telling you cannot proceed, take some time to step back and have a conversation with your entire soul about what is it that is disturbing the body. Because the body will always give you the signs. It's us who overrule the body.
So listen to your body.
Exactly. Listen to your body, listen to your mind.
Okay.
To what it's telling you.
Now, my last question before on this particular exercise. Is there any one of us who is free of the possibility of getting either stress or burnout or depression? What can cause even the very best of us to suffer in one of this?
It's not an ideal situation where you are insulated from any of this. things change. The environment changes, work changes, even close friends change. So nobody is immune to it. I think the most important thing is how to manage it. You can't avoid it, it's how to manage it.
Yeah. Anybody else with a comment? The ones who haven't not talked, you have a chance. You don't have to, but you have a chance before you move out of the exercise. Okay. I was going to define stress, but we've been well managed. Whatever your personal definition of stress is really like that you can learn to manage your stress better by managing external pressures and developing your emotional resilience. We also talked about the triggers of stress. In the process, we have actually managed them. Feelings of stress are normally triggered by things happening in your life, which involve being under lots of pressure. But I need to quickly say, there are people who can get much more pressure and they are still okay. Another person gets little pressure and there's a cap. So it's not quantity, it is your constitution. And it's you who knows, like Chet has said, that now I'm going beyond it. And one needs to be aware of it. You hear somebody, for example, lost their mother, then a few weeks later they lost their father, and then they have just lost their husband. That level of pressure and stress, and they seem okay, they seem to be at peace. Somebody has one person sick and they themselves are Sakabi. So, but one thing you need to watch out is when you are dealing with pressure or changes. You are living in a new house, you are going to a new job, you are trying to impress a new crowd of people, you are trying to you have just been given a prize. All those big changes in your life, you need to watch out. Or there's something causing you worry. You're worrying about something, maybe an exam that is coming, or a girl you hope to propose to who might say no, or some aches and you're starting to think it could be cancer or something. Those are the kind of worrying things, and worry will lead to stress. Another one is not having much of any control over outcome of a situation. We all are born with a desire to control. Unfortunately, there are so many things we can't control. If we don't learn how to accept what we cannot control, and we try to control it and yet we will not manage, you end up totally stressed. But sometimes it's having responsibilities that you are finding overwhelming. You accept a job beyond your ability. You accept to do something beyond your ability. And it can cause you a lot of trouble. But surprise of surprise, not having enough work is also a stress. Or not having enough activities. Or change in your life that you can talk about. Being idle can cause you a lot of stress. And the whole issue about times of uncertainty will be a trigger to stress. And once stress has been triggered, we can normally watch your life. And we who are your caregivers can tell you have become irritable, hard to live with. Sometimes we even describe you as volcanic. If you know somebody for long, and that's why you need these friends who know you for long, they can start telling you don't realize, but they can start telling you, you are getting annoyed about nothing. No, that person was terrible. You are justifying, but the same kind of things used to happen earlier, and you did not become volcanic. It may be a sign that there is a stress you are not managing somewhere else, and it's coming to erupt in a different location. We can also tell that you are you may be getting too much stress by your level of concentration. You are watching a program together, and the other person seems to have noticed things you haven't noticed at all. Because your level of concentration is so low, you can't understand the full story. You reach a level where reading a heavy book, you read, you get to the bottom, and just, what have I just read? You read a second time and you feel, what's wrong with this guy? I don't understand what he is saying. The problem might not be the writer. It might be your level of concentration because of the stressors that we are dealing with elsewhere. And sometimes we can tell something is going wrong with your life by your failing memory. You ask, when was your son born? Haya. Nilini? Now, when you can't remember when your son was born, there may be a possibility that you are getting stressed. Of course, for people like us who are getting older, we blame it on age. But sometimes it is simply you are not at your best. There are stressors and worries that are causing you. You can't remember even events. That may be something that suggests you are not at your best. But unfortunately, doctors tell us some abdominal problems. We expect them to give us a medicine. They start saying, is there something that is disturbing you? I say, what kind of question? I came because my stomach is giving me trouble. It may be I'm suffering from indigestion or stomach gas or continuous ramblings. And the doctor says, you need to think about the issues that may be causing you stress. Sometimes it is sleeplessness. Again, we are talking about somebody who has had a sleep pattern that is very good, and then something has changed. He's finding it hard to fall asleep or to sleep at all. He is up in bed for 8 hours, but he has not had even 1 or 2 hours of sleep. You need to check outside the sleep issue, what else is causing this stress. Or chronic fatigue, unexplained tiredness. You need to know it could be caused by you are going through stress. But sometimes it's simply feeling dull, depressed, and it's unexplained. Obviously, like I'm saying, if you can explain why, then it's not stress. For example, women in their monthly period, they may suffer from this dull moment, but that has nothing to do with stress. Don't blame stress on something which you can identify. Or you know somebody who is very positive in their outlook in life. All of a sudden, they tend to be pessimistic. Nothing works. I am useless. I don't even know why I'm alive. And this is a person who has been very positive. My friend, you need to check. Might there be stress? Even that idea of feeling helpless, hopeless, useless, suicidal is not something that should be ignored. But sometimes people surprise us. They have change of values. There is somebody who really valued his family. Then now you are seeing him with the dogos, with some small girls, and you know him. He doesn't have those kind of values. He values his family most, but not anymore. Or maybe somebody who has valued God. He has the values in the right way. God, people, and things last. All of a sudden, things become priority. People are used to get things, and God is nowhere in the picture. Maybe stress is causing it. So, what is the solution? My suggestion is, and we have already suggested a few things, that whatever is causing the stress may be better managed by managing expectations. One of the things that causing stress is putting your expectations so high are not admitting that you can't actually reach them. You need to manage your expectations. What you need to spend your time on is working smart. If in the end you still don't get a promotion, you shouldn't get depressed, because promotion is not your responsibility. That's your boss's area. Yours is to work hard. If you know you worked hard, you performed, you met your targets, you should be rejoicing. Throw a party that I met my targets. If your boss doesn't want to help, anakuonea, we say in Swahili, he's singing for you. That's not yours. You can't start blaming yourself on somebody else's area. So we are saying, come to where you manage expectations. And one of the best ways of managing your expectations is creating alternatives. You can say, I'll work. If I work hard, I'll get a promotion within 2 years. That's one scenario. Is there an alternative scenario? Are you in control of what your boss does? If you're not in control, then right from the beginning, work hard, expect promotion. But if the promotion does not come, you already knew you had an alternative possibility of it not happening. So when it doesn't happen, my boss, it was an X in the equation, and I didn't know what he could do. But when you start thinking you are in control of your life, you end up with a lot of frustrations and stresses. So you need to manage expectations. And this does not mean that you should not be ambitious. There is nothing wrong with ambition. Be ambitious to reach your very highest level. But be also aware that you need God's favor, you need other people's participation to reach it. When you reach there, you don't just say how great I am. You start appreciating the interplay of issues that brought you to that level. So ambition is okay, but ambition should not stop you enjoying where you are now. I've written a book called The Secret to Contentment, and I argue you can live a contented life all the way to the very top. In other words, the end you'll enjoy when you finally reach there, but you'll never enjoy the journey to the end. So it's very important to deal with this. But the other thing you need to deal with is discipline. Discipline is what makes you live a balanced life. What do you mean by discipline? My children, when I used to live with them when they were young, used to call it the D word. The D word. Now, discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't enjoy doing it. When you're enjoying something and you are doing it, that's not discipline. Discipline is the ability to do something you don't enjoy, you don't prefer, because it needs to be done for you to go to your expected end. A lot of people don't get discipline. When their neighbor has nothing to do, they come to do the nothing with them. Because they have no plan, they have no plot. Young people say, surely you must be able to tell me, Mr. Nganga, I think what you are saying is something good. Can we do it next Saturday? And if I am really your friend, I cannot assume you have nothing on your plate. I will not be offended. My friend, a lot of the stresses have to do with that. For example, you know very well that, I should not be saying you should know that if you don't get minimum of 6 hours of sleep in a 24-hour day, you will be sick. So if your employer is asking you to work beyond that, you know very well that you should say no. Discipline means, even if you are risking being fired, you simply say no. I don't work beyond 18 hours. And you say, I must sleep for 6 hours. So that is discipline. You really would like the promotion. you really would want to please the client. That's your desire. But discipline tells you, no, I have decided what to do. This needs to be done. And when you do that, you will see that your life is balanced. I worked for Shell for just about 3 decades. And at one time, Shell had the habit of doing BPR, business process reengineering, which is really studying the whole company and reorganizing it. And of course, the end result was always that a group of people would be given redundancy terms. But the end result is the work is still there and it's being done by less people. Must be 1983, 82 or 83, I was a supervisor, and we used to be 5 or 6 of us, and we were just left 2 or 3. When I really checked the work, it was the same amount of work that we were expected to do. My friend, we were there every night. Since I was a business analyst, it meant being on the calculator. Those days were not computers. Being on the calculator, I shouldn't say there were no computers. The computer was only the mainframe. At your desk, you were just a calculator. And I realized I'm going home late. I have a young family. I just started asking myself, some of these reports I give, does anybody really look at them? So I decided I'll fail to do some reports and see what happens. I failed to give the report the first month. Nobody asked. That disappeared out of my thing. I picked something else. Within 6 months, we had returned work to normal by removing things that were good to have, but not that important for management. So it's important to understand about this discipline. And your life is not anybody's responsibility. Don't give it to your employer. It is you who knows your body. So you need to be disciplined. Having said that, it's important to say that if you are a supervisor of anybody, you should be embarrassed if that person collapses under you. Because you should be creating a climate that makes it difficult for them to kill themselves. So it's important. I'm not suggesting you don't, but for each one of us, it needs to be your responsibility. And when you manage your expectations and you live a disciplined life, it becomes very easy to live in balance, to live a life of balance. Because now you're able to say, this is exciting to do, but I only give it 3 hours. This is not exciting, but it still requires my time. I'll give it 1 hour. So you live a balanced life because you are managing your expectations and you are actually disciplined. Much of life is really a question of maintaining balance. And it's important, you need to understand. And when you talk about balance, it may be part of the reason why you are going through stress. It's because of your finances. There must be a balance between expenses and income. It is possible to live within your income, at whatever level of income. I'm retired, and there's a time I got a project of distributing Bibles, Gideon Bibles. If you have been to a hotel and seen their Bibles there, I belong to an organization called Gideon's International. And so I decided I would give to the makeshift schools in Kibera Valley. And so I would go drive and at the DO's place, leave my car, and then the children would come and help me carry cartons to their school. And I learned a lot in the months I spent in Kibera slums. And I asked, where do you get income? It's what it says. I normally go to industrial area. And sometimes I get work, sometimes I don't get. So about how much do you get? The person says, about 10,000. This person earning 10,000, and that's not a long time ago, has enough money to rent a house. So I asked, how much is a house? Because the amount of house is 2,000, 3,000 maximum. And enough money to pay for the food, enough money, and he has 3 children and a wife. And they are running normal life. And some of them even drink. I said, what? Some of you, when you have 10,000 shillings, you feel poor. But that's for him the whole month. And that taught me there is no income you cannot live within. So a lot of your stress is because you haven't learned to live. The discipline I was talking about earlier, to live within your means. And that means live a life of budgeting. Budgeting time, budgeting money. You budget. And when you budget, you know this and this and this are cardinal. They are required. Once you put them, then ask yourself, if those are three, do they have a cheaper version? Is there a cheaper way of doing it? For example, maybe a car is important. But you know, a Mercedes and a Vix do the same work. They'll take your children to school. But if you decide to take a loan for a Mercedes, that may be 10 million shillings. If you take a Vix, it may be 300,000 shillings. The repayment back for the loan is a world of difference. You see, you can cope, and yet you have transport. Because what you need is not a car, a certain make. What you need is transport. Anyway, I don't have enough time to deal with this, but it's a subject on its own. Let's do the second exercise and hope it can help us.
Mr. Nganga, just before you go on, you skipped the slide on Clever Fool. I know we don't have.
I've run out. I've just looked at my time. That's what made me jump.
Yeah, but please, let's just be, because you've just given us really good wisdom. Piece of advice.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that everybody will get the notes. But let me talk about this friend of mine, the Clever Fool. Why did I call him Clever Fool? Because this guy was bright, real bright. But he actually failed the exam. What happened? The night before the exam, he was studying a subject that was the first question. He opened. Can you believe it? It was the first question, is the one. And he decided he would impress the examiner. So, in a 2-hour exam, with the 5 questions he was to do, he used 110 minutes on the first question because he knew everything there is to know. He forgot he had another 4 questions to do. At about 110 minutes, he looked, he had only 10 minutes to do 4 questions. So what happened? He tried, but now he had panicked. And anyway, how much can you do? And a question that was supposed to be done in 20 minutes, what can you do? If you divide 10 minutes by 4, it means you are taking 2 minutes each. You can guess what happened. For sure, when the exam was marked, he had 100% of question 1. And if it's only the examiner could not give him more, he had done better than the examiner ever imagined. Unfortunately, he only got marks for attempting. He got a 1 mark here, 2 marks there, 3 marks there, 2 marks there. So the other 4 questions could not give him 10 marks. So he got 20 marks for the first question, 10 marks for the other 4 questions. So the total was 30 marks. Those of you who go to school or went to school after me, what that marks is normally which grade? Chetty, what grade would that be?
$30 would be a fail.
Is it a D or an E?
That should be towards an E.
An E. My friend, the guy had failed, and yet he was the best person in class. What made him fail? Very simple. Lack of balance. And it's a lesson we all need to learn. Those things happen. Unfortunately, you were thinking that because he's young, we are doing the same. The guy was spending all his time in his work, and his son is growing. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and you're a stranger to your son. You have an A in question 1, work. You have an E in question 2, children. An E in question 3, spouse, your relationship with your spouse. An E in your question to do with how you are relating with your parents who are old and expecting you to input something. An E in your involvement in the church. Those are 4 E's, and an A. And Chetu told us the end result is a knee. So, on the day of judgment, when you evaluate your life, we will look at, it is true you did well, but overall, you are a total failure. And many people, some people, I don't know which is the right word, many or some, who have ended up in stress and totally messed up lives. When you train it, it has something to do with not living a balanced life. Putting too much effort in one area and forgetting the other. I hope you get the notes. I want us to do this exercise. When was the last time you achieved and enjoyed something at work? What work was it? Alfred, do you have somebody in the group whom you know is waiting to be mentioned? You know the word volunteer in English.
You can mention Chet or I, so I can volunteer here.
Okay.
Thanks. Yes, John. So unless there's a volunteer, Chet and I are available to be called out by you. Yes, absolutely. So I'll answer that one. So the last time I achieved and enjoyed something at work, oh my goodness, that was on Friday, but it happens every single day anyway, because I work in a place that has a high, can I say, success output, in the sense that everything I do, along with my colleagues, is intended to make a difference in the area that we serve. So I can say confidently, it was
the day before yesterday.
Yes, the day before yesterday, and I didn't do it alone. As I said, it's with my colleagues. And it's an enjoyment every day in my area of work, because as I say, there's always a positive impact that is resultant of that work. So this particular one had to do with the success of an advocacy effort that one of the members of the association that I work with gave support towards, and that increased the footprint of that particular advocacy activity. I can leave it there?
Yes. The critical thing is, I said earlier, stress is when you are unable to cope with a situation. So we are saying, if you do a work you enjoy, you are less likely to end up stressed than somebody who is doing something they are not enjoying. Now, the next one says, when was the last time you achieved and enjoyed something with your family? Chetua, do you have a family?
A very large one at that. And I believe I'm one of those few people who not only enjoy work,
yeah,
and feel very happy at work, and at the same time easily transit at home and feel very, very happy at work. It's always a joy, seeing my kids grow up and achieve whatever they're achieving and being part of that. So I believe one of the few people who actually love a lot of work and still are able to feel happy and comfortable with the family and friends.
Now give us an example, without revealing too much, of how you enjoyed yourself with the family. Not at work, at the family level. What did you do together? What is it that they did to you that made you a day? Or what did you to them that made you? Because sometimes what you enjoy is doing something good for others. But sometimes they are the ones who do something for you. But all of it involves giving time for each other.
I was able to take a few days off and take a small holiday with my spouse.
Wow. Now that's certainly good. And did she look happy about it?
Oh, she's very happy.
Good. Yeah, because that's what helps. Because when you do something good for another person, they may not enjoy it as much as the giver enjoys. and all of a sudden all your stress is gone. When was the last time you achieved and enjoyed something with your friends? Alfred?
Yes, I can say a few.
And remember, every time the rules of the game are, I was told by Wanjiko, everybody should be free to say pass. In other words, even if I mention your name, you don't have to say something.
Okay. I think it's a few months ago when I went and shared a meal with some of my friends. That was around in February. We had not met for quite a while. So I think that's something we enjoyed with my friends.
Okay. But Alfred, February was long ago, but it's still something. Thank you very much. And how recently have you achieved and enjoyed something just for you? We started with, are you enjoying your work? We went to, are you enjoying your family? We went to, are you enjoying with your friends? Now we are talking about you and yourself.
For me, it's been quite a while since I enjoyed it, but I'm trying to prioritize. Maybe I plan on my next leave day, I have some time on my own.
Good. That's very good. That's called an admission, and that's good. Wanjiko, do you want to comment?
Yes, because you called me out. So on the last one, how recently have I achieved? Just for me?
Yes. Nobody. Your spouse is not involved in this. Your children don't come into it. You and yourself.
Absolutely. So for me, it's every single day because this morning I took a walk. I do that every morning just for me to meditate, to introspect, to smile at nothing. Today was beautiful because the sun was up so early before 7, and to see the blue sky peeping through what has been very gray in the last number of days in the week is something I really relished this morning.
Wow.
I've also enjoyed the company. It is for me, and she's on this call, the company of my gifted daughter. So I asked her to pop in so that I could enjoy her company and be silly together and just laugh and have a good time. She's got such a great sense of humor. So that's just for me.
That one is under number 3, enjoying time with your friend. Your daughter is your friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. Now, you can see clearly, even if I don't spend time on it, that if we really want to put stress at bay, there are 4 things. You must relook at your work. It might cause you to go to a job with less income, but do something you enjoy. Most likely the reason you enjoy it is because of the impact it makes, like Wanjiko said. Something you feel is like a call. It's like heaven is smiling on you. Number 2, look for how to invest in your family. Not what they'll do for you, what you'll do for them, but what you'll discover is, as you invest in your family, they appreciate, and it's going to be a stress reliever. Number 3, have friends beyond your family. Maybe professional friends, maybe social friends, maybe whatever. But people you can meet regularly over a period of time. But regularly, maybe once a month. But people you meet who get to know you, who came to understand you, they are the people I talked about earlier, who can notice when something changes and point it out to you. But then the last one is create time for yourselves. The Christians call it a quiet time. It's called quiet because even your spouse is not allowed in that space. It's just between you and God, where you can be honest. This week I have failed. Yesterday I failed. God forgive me. What can I do so that I don't end up in this failure? Sometimes we are so busy, we have no time with ourselves to talk to ourselves, to own up to what we have done wrong, and plan what we can do that will improve. And as you open up, you get a relief. Your stress goes down. You know, Work-life balance is a concept that supports the efforts of employees to split their time and energy between work and other important aspects of their lives. And we have gone through the list of the things we are talking about: friends, spirituality, all these things that you need to put your time. Let's first define what work-life balance is not. Work-life balance does not mean an equal balance. Trying to schedule an equal number of hours for each of your various requirements is usually unrewarding and even unrealistic. Life is and should be more fluid than that. If, for example, you have just given birth to a baby, that baby requires your time in a totally different way. When that baby will be an adult, she will become a friend who relieves you. But when they were babies, they required your time differently. So when we talk about work-life balance, we are not saying equal amount of time. Your best individual work-life balance will vary over time. Often on a daily basis, it could vary. The right balance for you today will probably be different for you tomorrow. The right balance for you when you are single will be different when you are married. Or if you have children, when you start a new career, versus when you are retired like me. There is no perfect one-size-fits-all. But one should be striving to be like so and so. The best work-life balance is different for each of you because you are all different in terms of priority and your lives. So I suggest that you look at your life in order to understand this balance into 3 areas: what I call private life, personal life, and public life. Private life is the life I'm saying spending time with yourself. What do you do there? You are looking at your spiritual development. You are looking at your intellectual development. You are looking at your physical development. Spiritual development is when stress comes in a big way, are you able to pray and hand over the matters to God? Or that's not an issue? Are you developing yourself over time, intellectually? Your body, are you looking after it? How do you look after your body? Giving it time of physical rest? Giving it time for physical exercise? Thinking about what you eat? That's an area that you should invest time on. But then the second area I'm giving is the area I'm calling the personal life. When I call it personal, it's not private. It's personal because only your close friends are allowed there. This is where your family is and your close friends. Normally, you don't require your toes to count these people in this area. Your fingers are already too many. These are people you can be open to. And you know, when you talk about your failures, instead of laughing, they will be empathetic. Those are not very many, but you need them. And you need to take the risk, be vulnerable, so that they can be of people who can be of help. And that requires time. So you must invest time. But then obviously, public life is more obvious. And it's the one that normally destroys the other two. Public life is your professional, where you are earning money, your involvement in church, your community work. You still need to be involved there, but it should not be allowed to ruin the rest of your life. So I call it the 7-fold calling. You can see the seven areas. And whenever you are doing an evaluation on your life, you must give yourself a score in every area. Spiritual. Is it an A, a B, a C, or a D? Intellectual development. And intellectual development includes people like me, retirees. You must keep developing your mind. Otherwise, your senility will come earlier. So it's important to ask yourself, are you developing your mind? Because your mind, when well developed, will be able to tackle the challenges you are facing. Therefore, stress will be better managed. What about your body? What grade would you give your health? And how you are looking after it? In your personal life, I'm giving it number 4. A is family, B is friends. What grade would you give yourself and how you are relating there? What about your public life? Professional. Are you doing well there? What grade would you give yourself? What about your church life? What about your community work? You know, you need to understand, and although we are running out of time, it's important for me to emphasize, overwork is bad for your health. We all have said to ourselves, I just need to learn to sleep less. Then I have enough time. There's plenty of evidence that proves that it is not a good idea at all. Why is overworking bad for your health? Chronic sleep debt raises the risk of obesity, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. In other words, when you go over time without enough sleep, you tend to become, your body react in a certain way, you become obese. You could even end up with a heart disease. You could even get stroke, and there could be the onset of type 2 diabetes. In the short term, lack of sleep can have significant efforts on the hippocampus, an area of the brain involved in memory creation and consolidation. That I am quoting something, and I've shown where I'm quoting it from. You know, we need to discuss clearly the relationship between working hours and heart attack. The study, researchers from University College London compared data on the relationship between working hours and heart attack risks in over 600,000 workers, as well as similar data on stroke risk in over 500,000 workers. They adjusted their data to compensate for individual workers' difference due to health behavior such as smoking, alcohol consumption, and physical activity, and also adjusted for the presence of other cardiac risk factors such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. Even after adjusting that, they found that those who worked more than 55 hours per week had a 13% greater risk of heart attack and were 33% more likely to suffer a stroke compared with those who worked the usual 40-hour week. I hope that sinks in. That there's a whoever came up with the 40 hours was not that wrong. And you know the trouble is, hours work are not directly related to the value you generate. There are plenty of organizations with a litany of workers who work long hours, yet do not work intelligently, and therefore fail to create the output for the organization that they would have hoped they do. On the other hand, there are numerous employees who pack a hefty punch into a 30-hour work week and create loads of value. Oftentimes, the difference is the tools one team uses over another. So that's why we call it working smart. Don't be proud you work long hours. Are you working smart? Overwork leads to lower productivity, unfortunately. Overwork leads to you reaching a point of diminishing returns. Let me just discuss this theory of diminishing returns. The seldom discussed flip side is that while hard work and long hours can certainly pay off, after working past a certain point, and each person may have a different point, the quality of work diminishes, taking a heavy mental, emotional, and physical toll. Eventually, it can diminish the quality of your life. That is Bob Weston of Troy Media Corporation. Are you getting it? And I know that because I have worked those long hours. And by the time you are on your 14th hour, the 1 hour extra you put, what you cover may not compare with what you are covering during the normal time. Wouldn't it be better to break, come back? And so if you do 14 hours, you'll get less output than if you did 8 hours. And those are studies that show that. That's why we are saying the 40-hour week was not incidental. It was brought up by Henry Ford. While Ford took credit for the 40-hour work week, he was not the first to come to the conclusion that it was worthwhile. Throughout the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, there were hundreds of studies praising the benefit of the 40-hour week. Let me now go, as we have got to us finishing, some work-life balance myths. I don't think we'll be able to do this exercise.
Yeah, let's keep the exercise, but I think it would be great to discuss some points therein if you just guide us. If you go back to the other slide, so that then we can have the benefit of if you can just take us through without necessarily us having to discuss with some pointers, it would be great.
Work-life balance is scheduling an equal number of hours for each of your various work and personal activities. Myth. I think I've already covered that. But I would have wanted to hear other people's comments. It is easier to balance when you reach top of the organization. Another myth. Many people who are CEOs are a total mess themselves. But people keep telling themselves, let me work hard. When I join management, I'll be okay. My friend, work is addictive. By that time you have become addicted and you think anybody who doesn't put extra time is lazy. You yourself, you don't have to demonstrate you are not lazy. You'll also be doing wrong. Another myth. You must either be housewife or career woman, not both. Again, another myth. There are many people who are housewives and they still don't balance out the issues. The list I gave you, the 7 callings, they don't balance it well. The important thing is ensuring all the 7 areas are looked after. Whether you are a career woman only or a housewife only, or you are both. Karen Patterson, talking about women, has noted that using technology has enabled her to cultivate a work-life balance by having the ability to work remotely, and in result, she can spend more time with her family. And of course, we are discovering that. My wife is a lecturer now. She lectures from the house. So I have her time much more just by the use of technology. Teaching because you see, it required time to go to the university, maybe an hour or 2, time to come back, an hour or 2. All that is now gone. She just switches on the machine and is talking to her students. What we are saying is that you can actually you can choose work and family, but by using technology, be able to meet both requirements. She can travel with her office in her pocket, keeping the information secure and accessible. If a client asks for a file or a piece of information via email, she can access it via the cloud. So she is able to work. So you can be both a mother, a wife, and a worker and deal with all of them as long as the D word is there, discipline. Another myth. Once I am away from my desk, I'm not working. That's a lie. Technology allows us to work anytime, anywhere. Although they are free from a desk and a chair, all the workers I know are tethered to their mobile device. In other words, they're always at work. So, if the 40-hour week is not sitting on a desk, it is working. You need to give this the rest of the week is supposed to be given to your family, to your friends, to the community, to the church. So when you allow work to go beyond 40 hours, even if you are not in the office, you can see this is a myth. Work-life balance is just about hours worked. When it comes to how work-life balance can be achieved, it's about much more than working long hours. It's about the purpose behind what you are doing and your reasons for doing it. For instance, what you do for a living may only require 40 hours of work per week. But if it's making it difficult for you to sleep at night for stress or reasons of integrity, your work-life balance is out. So you actually did a 40-hour week. But every night you think about the scandal. And you keep asking, when are they likely to discover? You can't sleep. You are talking with your spouse, but you are holding on your chin. Fearing what will happen. So you did hours 40, but you are unable to switch away from work. You are not even on your computer. But what you did at work that was unethical or a problem. Maybe you spend some time with a woman who is not your wife. And so when you come to your wife, what you did at work is interfering with your relationship with your wife. So you don't have a balance. Hours worked are directly correlated to value created. Again, a lie. There are plenty of organizations with a plethora of workers, and I think I talked about that. So, as we finish, how do you keep rhythm in life rather than just a balance? Again, this exercise, I would have wanted you to talk about the issues of discipline, how to make use of your time, how to make sound decisions, because all those are the things that will make the 40 hour do much more work than the 50 hour or 60 hour. The idea of making use of resources, the idea of how you face life challenges, and the idea of working as a team are all things that will help you in your work-life balance. So you must redefine the issue of work-life balance. Meaningful daily achievement and enjoyment in each of my 4 life quadrants is what I call work-life balance. And you can divide it, instead of the way I divided for 3, you can make family and friends be separated. So you have work, family, friends, and self. Ask yourself the issues we asked ourselves earlier. So you must not be driven by achievement. It must be achievement and enjoyment. At the core of an effective work-life balance definition are the 2 key everyday concepts that are relevant to each of us. Achievement and enjoyment. Answer the big question, why? Why do you want a better income? Why do you want a new house? Or is it that you need the extra income so that kids could go through college? Or to do a good job today, or to come to work at all? Try to live a one-sided life. Trying to live a one-sided life is why so many successful people are not happy, are not nearly as happy as they should be. So we are saying work-life balance is enjoying, like Chetu, both your workplace and your family. Enjoyment does not just mean, I feel nice. It means I'm proud of what I am doing. I get satisfaction out of how I use my time. I have happiness out of my relationships. I am celebrating the things my family is achieving, or my workmates, my work team is achieving. I'm in love with the people around me. I have a sense of well-being by the end of the day. And I have all the joys of living. Then you can say you are living a work-life balance. For that to happen, you need to have a vision and a mission to live for and even die for. You need to ask yourself in life, at your 80th birthday, what do you hear people saying? 80th birthday, most likely they are not expecting any more from you in life. So, think of your 80th birthday and write down today what you hear people saying. Because what you hear people saying is giving you a vision of how you should live your life. Vision is a noun. Mission is a verb. Mission asks, what will you do in order to reach that vision? However, I'm encouraging you to have what I'm calling core values. What are core values? Non-negotiable convictions. In other words, I'm willing to not reach my vision if I have to reach my vision by breaking my values. What are your values? They are called core values because they are not for negotiation. Remember why you do and what you do. Are you aligned mentally and emotionally with your purpose and passion in all the 4 areas? Do your friends help you to reach your vision and mission? Inspiration drives creativity and innovation, and it deserves your full focus. Values keep you in the straight and narrow. For example, you live a life of integrity, and yes, in the end, you have less regret. So you must combine your work with your calendar. Don't have a calendar for the office and no calendar for the house. So in the end, you end up doing only what is on your calendar. Do not keep two separate calendars, one for home and one for work. You end up missing some work deadlines, or you activate activities at other events. So combine the calendars or diaries, and so integrate the two, so that you know in your work, this is my son's speech day or sports day. Remember, you have just one life. Therefore, it must be one diary. And the important thing is you need Sabbath. Sabbath is Creator's message that you need the rest. Do not think that rest is optional. The biblical idea is just to have one day that one stops everything. The first day after creation, when man should have started working, he was told, rest, just rest with me. So he did not rest because it was a day of rest. Focus one thing at a time is another good advice. Balancing life and work does not work. So reconstruct it by seeing work-life focus. Rather than worry about unread emails, cut through noise by giving individual attention and focus in that moment to whomever or whatever I'm dealing with now, regardless of the duration of the moment. Once complete, I then give the next task or a person my undivided attention. That's why you need a diary for the day. And what you have put to talk to your wife, don't allow anything else to come in. Then in the end, by the end of the day, you have lived a balanced life because you are focusing at one thing at a time. I read somewhere when they talk about multi-skilling, or I can't remember what they say women are good at, doing several things at the same time. Studies showed that in the end, everything got less input. If you are talking to somebody and you are watching TV and you are peeling potatoes, every one of the three things doesn't get your full attention. So I would have gone into time management, but our time is far gone.
John, you can rush a little through because remember we started 15 minutes late, huh?
Oh, so we can take it back.
Yeah.
Sorry, you attending, you came. If you came 15 minutes, we are taking it back. You know, on time management, which is a very critical issue, and it's something you need to understand, you need a personal development plan. I call it a PDP. All my mentees, young people, we develop a PDP, personal development plan. That's what will help you to live a life of balance. The PDP will tell you what are you likely to have achieved by the year 30, what are you likely to have achieved by when you are 50, what can you achieve by the age of 80. So, and you are able to spread it. So you don't try to achieve everything in the first 10 years. Since you have a purpose and a mission to achieve, you need to pray to put a plan. And remember, the vision and mission is not for 10 years. It's something you will achieve by the end of your life. So just plan it over time. And you'll see there will be less pressure to just achieve something by the age of 25. And why should you discover your own purpose? Because there is a purpose we are here to fulfill. Nobody is born to become trash. There's something only you on earth can fulfill. And if you don't, the earth will be poorer because you didn't do it. If you know it, it helps you. So, and the thing that will help you once you know your purpose is to be proactive. What is being proactive? Don't do things as they come. Leave the future forwards. In other words, you can see that your children will go to university in another 20 years. What can you do now that will make it easier for you when they reach university? You can see you are likely to get married in 3 years' time. What can you do now as a single person that will make it easier? That's what I'm calling living forwards initially. You are living in the future now. And when I say live, it doesn't mean you are taken up by the ideas. You just plan for them. You know, when something happens and you had not thought about it, first of all, is to get shocked. And because you are shocked, you become unproductive. But if you knew it could happen, you prepared in case it happens. In our industry, we call it ERS, Emergency Response Plan. You prepared a plan. If I pray and bring my best for it not go wrong. But if it went wrong, this is what I would do to deal with the emergency. If you live that kind of life, you will see there will be less shocks that will bring you stress in your life because you are thinking forwards. And it's not that things will not go wrong, but they'll not surprise you. Because in your analysis, when you created alternatives, you could see something going wrong. I've also said, if you are living a proactive life, you have seen how it will help you to remove stress. But the other thing is, when you enjoy your work, you will become more productive. You look forward to waking up in the morning to go to work. You are not looking for excuse. Oh, going for tea for 10 minutes, talking to your friends, whatnot. So in the end, the working hours will be better utilized if you enjoy your work. And it's important to look for something to do which you feel is within your calling. And then, if you are really doing your calling, you are likely to be good in your work. So people keep commenting about your contribution, and it gives giving you relief. And that will help you to deal with your thing. So the critical thing is, learn to prioritize. Don't allow the dictatorship of the agent. You know, something urgent forces you to do something that was not, and in the process, because of doing something urgent, you ended up failing to do something important. If you read my book, I call it The Leader's Source of Influence, I talk about that you need a plan that is able to put all the requirements on your time to what is urgent, what is important, what is urgent and important, what is only urgent but not important. And what is urgent and not important, refuse to do it. And you'll see many things we end up doing. Nothing will go wrong even if you don't do them. But they're urgent and calling you on your time. For example, if your car's exhaust is leaking, that's not very important compared with your brakes. But with your car exhaust leaking, as you drive out of your neighborhood, everyone knows Nganga's car is leaking. So what are you likely to do? Stop all work to go to repair the exhaust. But even if you stayed with the exhaust for another 3 months, the loss is very little. So there are important things, and I'm giving that as an example to show you how many exhausts we are dealing with that don't matter. You know, somebody is a crybaby, you know very well what they're asking you to do is not important in their life, and you start doing it. Prioritizing means or start by doing things that are not only urgent but are important. Maximize your potential in all areas of life. Commitment to setting priorities and adhering to them is what will help you. And plan your time. Don't just allow things to crop in. And as we finish, avoid addiction. Addiction is anything you do because you must. You know, the Bible even covers it. It says, I have a right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have a right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others. What are we saying? You need to ask yourself, is this beneficial? You know, you can even, addiction, people think of only alcohol and drugs. You can be addicted to a TV program. And even when important visitors come, you put your TV on. You are talking to them as you watch the TV. You are addicted. And you suffer from withdrawal syndromes. And people that are addicted cannot be disciplined. Addiction and discipline don't go together. So addiction will force you to steal time, and you still have to do something important. By the time you got to do it, you do it in a hurry. It ends up with bad results. You end up with a bad report. You end up stressed. And they all came from the thing you are addicted to. So avoid addiction. Reorganize your time. What I normally recommend is that you take a census of your week and look at the things you are doing. Then start finding out which of them is actually in the first quadrant of urgent and important. Which is important but not urgent. and reorganize your whole area. Then once you do that, you diarize, put things down in a diary. I discovered that 40 years ago, that without a diary, I kept making commitments and therefore messing up with the people and destroying my relationships. But when you put it down, when the next person calls you, and this is a person you respect even more than the first one. So you don't want to say no. But say, let me check my diary. You realize the other person has already booked you. So you have to tell the other person, sorry, can we look for another time? And with that, it will better your relationships and you'll be able to achieve more. The number 4 is to learn how to delegate. Sometimes the reason you don't delegate is that you think you are the best. But if you are the best, that's okay. Why can't you train somebody else? Number 5, learn to have blocks of time when you cannot be disturbed, when you concentrate. Because you'll discover when you concentrate on something, the quality will be high and you're likely to take shorter time. In the end, you will release time to be available to other things. But you also need a time of relaxation. It's important that if you're able to have every morning 15, 20 minutes, an hour is even more preferred. When you are not doing any work, you're just having a quiet time with yourself. It will really energize your day. Prepare for activities so that you can achieve more out of them. If, for example, if you are going for a meeting, why can't you prepare the items of the agenda? That way the meeting will run faster. So what have we said? In conclusion, avoid the dictatorship of the agent, have disciplined living, prioritize on how well the item supports fulfillment of your calling. In other words, something is important if it is within your calling, if it is helping you to fulfill your purpose. Something is not important because it's not adding value to your calling. Number 4, have ability to say no. Some people only know the word yes, they never say no. And in the process, because they never say no, they end up not being productive. Good. Let me return the meeting back to Wanjiku. Sorry, it was a marathon.
Chet?
I think, thank you very much, and we'll be sharing the notes once you share them with us so that people can go through them quietly. And I don't know whether there's anybody who has any question that they would want answered now. You can do that by raising your hand and we can get back to you. Anybody who has a question or would seek a clarification. Anybody? Nobody has a question or would want to seek clarification. Wananganga, personally, I would want to ask, this balancing, as you put it, between work, life, family, and friends, it's not something that is a template that one can fill in. How do you prioritize between all those 3?
Like I said, the first thing is to have clarity of purpose. Why are you alive? And in achieving the reason for which you are alive, the 7 areas I listed are all important. So I think one of the things that people have is some people just live to earn money. They have no other reason. So how can you live a balanced life when what is driving you is one-sided? And that's why I really would like you to prepare a vision statement that covers all areas of your life. I normally tell people to write birthday speeches, 7 birthday speeches, 7 of them. Number 1, what do you hear your spouse saying? This is my husband's birthday, this is my wife's birthday. We have been married for 50 years. I just want to tell you, in the years I've lived with him, this is the impact he has made on me. What do you see them saying when you are 80 and you have been married for 50, 60 years? Now, if you have in clarity, it will drive you to live a balanced life. Because if you write your speech now and hope that your wife will be willing to read it when you are 80, then you better live your life, because you'll not be a liar. You'll not read a speech that does not agree with the way you lived your life. That being at the end of the tunnel is the one that will drive you to put time to be with your wife. Listen to a speech from your children. Maybe you have 3 or 4, but one of them will represent all of them. What speech do you hear them read? Oh, we know our father from the time we were born. Remember, if you are 80, your son is likely to be 50 and a grandfather himself. So he's not going to lie. What kind of impact do you want to make on your children? What do you hear them saying? If you see that, it will drive you not to allocate all the time to your wife, to also allocate to your children for them to read that speech. Speech number 3. What do you hear? Your community. Those are your clansmen, your cousins, your neighbors. What do you hear them saying? Let one of them read a speech. These are people that are close to you, your friends, your clansmen, your whatever. One of them is reading. What do you hear them saying? And what are you doing currently that will make them say, this is the impact, this friend of ours, this cousin of ours, this uncle of ours. Remember, by that time your parents are dead and your uncles, it's only, you are the old person then. What do you hear? That will force you to allocate time to friends. Number 4, speech number 4. Prepare a speech to be read by somebody from your religious center. What do you hear your pastor saying? What time have you allocated it? Of course, he will not lie. So, what kind of impact, spiritual impact, are you making on others? Is that part of your vision? If it is, what are you doing about it? Speech number 5. What about local community? When I talk about local community, maybe there's something you are doing in the neighborhood, in your neighborhood, for the good of the neighbors. Or does it matter that even if you died, your neighbors wouldn't miss you? Either, when I say neighbor, in Kenya we have 2 neighborhoods. The neighborhood in city and the neighborhood in your village. What are you doing about it? What do you hear them saying when you are 80? What difference did you make? And then we can now come to your professional area, your area of training, where you earn your daily bread. Beyond earning salary, what do you hear your workmates, your professional colleagues saying? What difference did you make in your area of training? Write it down. And the final one may be a national outlook, assuming you hope to make a national outlook. Or even you can write a 7th one of international outlook, if you hope to make impact internationally. So somebody will come from the UN to give a speech in your 80th birthday about the impact you made on the whole world. So to me, Chet, if you write them, that's the first thing, that the back of your mind, you have something you are trying to achieve long term. But secondly, develop your mission statement. I've written a book called Discovering Your Life's Purpose. My books can be found in the Scripture Union bookshop next to the Chair of Petrol Station at Hurlingham, or in Church House next to St. Paul's University on Toboya Street. And in that book, I try to answer that question: how you can make your life a life of balance. Because once you are clear about your vision, you start looking at your assets. What are your resources? You do a SWOT analysis on yourself. And you know there are things you can't do and things you can do. Don't waste your time on your areas of weakness. Concentrate on your area of strength. Use it in all the areas you have mentioned. But you need to do a SWOT analysis on yourself. Your strength, your weaknesses, your potential, the potential, the threat that can stop you reaching your mission. Once you have done that, that now helps you to do your PDP. Thinking about the PDP is a long-term plan, personal development plan. And then on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, have a timetable. If you are following a timetable, certainly your life will be balanced. Because the timetable will show, hey, this week I've not given any time to my children. Or this time, don't just learn, do your life. Wow. Create a structure to your life. And you will see your life will be balanced. Now, if you are not willing to do a lot of that donkey work, it will be very difficult, bahati nasibu, trial and error, to actually end up living a balanced life. Chetu, am I answering your question?
Yes, you have.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else with a question or would seek clarification? Although there's one thing.
Amira's hand is up.
Oh, sorry, I can't see that. Amira.
Hi.
Hi, Amira.
Can you hear me?
Very well, Mungai.
All right. So mine is simple. I just wanted you to touch on people being uncomfortable in the space that they choose to be in, because I've seen that where people get shocked that someone can actually choose to be in a certain kind of space. People are so used to everyone rushing to get some amount of money. So if they meet someone who is not rushing in the same direction, they are shocked. And I've seen also people who, while they want to live within their means, they are sort of like ashamed with those means. So, and I don't know what you can say about that, because it's something I've seen around. Maybe you can touch on that.
Let me say 3 things. Number 1, when you start where we started, that we are dealing with the issue of death, that when you don't live a balanced life, you are likely to end up stressed, get burnout, get depressed, and commit suicide. That should be frightening enough to tell you not to care what people think or don't think. So I think that's the first thing we must deal with, that is not as a playing matter. If you start living another person's life and you are not them, you will stress yourself and you mess up your own life, and you may even cut short your life. And that is something that all of us who have come to this meeting need to understand. Your life is your life. Even if you are twins, your twin sister is not your life. You know what? Another time I think I was at the airport and I was asking, you make us put a stamp on something. Surely with 7 billion people, more than 7 billion people on earth, how do you know my thumb is my thumb? Can somebody else have a thumb? They told me 7 billion people, and of course they are not 7 because others died a long time ago and their thumbs are already in the library. Nobody has a similar thumb to another, and which is my second point. You need to learn that your life is so unique. It's somebody called Mason who wrote a book. You are born an original. Don't die a copy. It means you must live your life in such a way that it doesn't bother you how others are living theirs, because you are unique. So if your twin is doing better than you, so what? You are not the same person. Your calling is not the same. And I think that's the second thing that helped me in my life when I learned that I'm unique. I have a personal vision and mission. And it's not my employer's vision and mission. It's my personal vision and mission. My third point is something I learned way back. I don't know that you say it is not the truth, but I have never been put in a position in class from 1967. 1967 is when I finished my primary school. I did KPE, and in 1968 went to high school. I found a Mzungu headmaster who said people should not compete with one another. So what do? He reorganized the report form and said that every end of term, the student report will be 3 columns. The first column is how you performed continuous assessment for the term, end of term exam. The third column was called improvement column. And the parents were told in a parents meeting, don't worry about the first 2 columns. What matters is the third one. So if you got an A, during first term and a B in second term, it's a D in the improvement because you are going backwards. And the parents were told, even if somebody has an A in first term, once they start going down, you have no idea where they are going down. If you got a C in first term and you got a B in that term, that's an improvement. And once you start going up, you can go up to. So parents were told that what you should be discussing with your children is not the grade they got for the term. It is, are they improving? They are competing against themselves. Do you know for all the 4 years until I did my Form 4 in 1971, I never knew what position I was in class. Nobody ever knew what anybody else did. Our reports were done separately. There was never a comparison. Because you are saying there's no, even if you are beating somebody else, so what? Beat yourself. Do better than yourself. Unfortunately, when I went for A level, again, we were not put in positions. The only time I learned about the position is because in our time, when you did your Form 4, the result appeared in the newspaper. So they put first division. And I realized out of a class of 105, I was in the top 5. And I said, is that true? Did something go wrong? Because I thought I'm not doing well against others. I know I'm working hard. But that's really what I learned. Even when we finally got a family and children, I told my children, I cannot reward you for getting high marks. I'll reward you for working hard. Because see, high marks, you can get them even if you are lazy, if you are bright. And then I was telling the child, if you are bright, that's a gift from God. So I should give the praise to God, not to you. For you, it is working hard. That's within your effort. And if you have an A of 80, you can get it into an 85. Then I'll give you, you will still have an A, but I'll give you for improvement. So if you go, Amira, if you take that idea of competing against yourself, it will not bother you what others are getting or not getting. Therefore, you will not start entering the rat race. Number 2, if they laugh, it will not bother you. What does laughter do to you? Nothing. You know very well. For example, by that time they're laughing at you, you feel very happy. You are improving. You are doing better. But of course, they don't measure it that way. You are measuring against yourself, and you know you are doing well. You know, when I've just referred to the rat race, the rat race is you go to somebody else's house and they have a better fridge than yours. Then you go back to say, I must get a. Surely, a rat race is simply a rat race. And the winner can only be a rat. And you are not a rat. Stop being in a rat race. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Wow, I think I better thank you, Chet.
We are well past our 1 hour that we had allocated for this. I don't see any other hands. I'm hoping everybody is comfortable where they are and they have learned. And I do not always want to cut off anybody who has a question. Is there anybody who has not been answered? Very well.
I think, just a small comment, I think John has gone beyond, our expectations. And in fact, the questions that have been asked now have been really, and what Amira has asked and what you, Chet, asked, have just been really the icing on the cake. And I pray that each one of us has actually taken some nuggets that they can run with, if nothing else,